Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our one and only regular council meeting for January 2024. We'll begin with invocation followed by a salute to the flag led by Mr. Jansen. Please rise.
Let us pray. Good and gracious Heavenly Father, we just thank you for the blessings that you give us each and every day, Lord. In the world of what is, we're thankful that we can look to you and you answer the what if questions. And through your power, if you stand with us, how can anybody be against us? And Lord, we just ask you to look over our first responders and our military as they preserve our peace. And we thank you for the salvation that your Son gives us. For it's in his name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call this meeting to order. Madam Clerk, roll call. Councilmember Golding. Here. Councilmember Horn.
here.
Councilmember Jansen.
Here.
Councilmember Meza.
Here.
Councilmember Sutton.
Here.
Mayor Hoffman. Here. Moving on to approval of minutes. Item A.
I move that we approve the minutes from the special city council meeting held on December 18th, 2023.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item B.
I move that we approve the minutes from the city council meeting held on December 18th, 2023.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item C.
I move that we approve the minutes from the special city council meeting held on December 20th, 2023.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item D.
I move that we approve the minutes from the special city council meeting held on January 5th, 2024.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item E.
I move that we approve the minutes from the the council briefing held on January 8th, 2024.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to approval of the agenda, Mr. Stefopoulos.
Mayor, Council, there are two items that staff would like to pull from the agenda for tonight. The first is consent agenda item C, the approval of commercial lease with Hart Utilities. And the second item is ordinance B 2024-8209. We've identified an issue with the ordinance from an advertising perspective that needs to be addressed. And with regards to the commercial lease, we've been in contact with Hart Utilities, and they would like to have further discussions of the terms and conditions before we move forward.
Thank you. Can we have a motion to approve the agenda with those changes?
I move that we approve the agenda with the city manager's proposed changes.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Announcements. Ms. Gold.
I'd like to start by thanking the mayor for participating in the State of the Beaches meeting that Beaches Watch held last week. You did a great job with the presentation, and for anybody that wasn't able to attend that meeting, all three beaches mayors were there giving an update on what happened in their cities in 2023 and plans for 2024. And you can see the mayor's presentation. She was the first presenter by going to beacheswatch.com. Also want to mention that I was happy to attend the Martin Luther King celebration this past Saturday that the Rhoda L. Martin Cultural Heritage Center puts on, and just want to recognize them. They always do a great job with that event, and want to mention that we have a workshop coming up on Wednesday, January 24th at 6 p.m. And that is going to be covering the first draft of our comprehensive plan amendments. That is a workshop that won't have public comment, but it'll be an opportunity to get some information about what's proposed for our comp plan changes. Also wanted to mention that I attended our Florida League of Cities weekly call-in today, and things just continue to keep getting better. Can you hear the sarcasm in my voice? Senate Bill 280, which is the vacation rental bill, is going to be heard this Thursday in the Fiscal Policy Senate Committee at 1:30 p.m. Senator Yarborough is on this committee, and he's our senator, as you know, so I would recommend that you reach out to him if you have the opportunity. There are some enterprise fund transfer bills there's a House and a Senate bill that are not good, and I spoke with our city manager about them, and they would limit the amount of funds that we could transfer to our general fund, and as Mr. Staphopoulos said, they could be fiscally crippling for us. I wanted to mention that Wyman Duggan is on the first House committee, and so I would encourage, he's in our Duval delegation, so I would encourage you guys to reach out to him about those bills. The bill to repeal the local business tax also has a House companion now too. Just wanted to let everybody know. I attended the advocacy committee meeting last week, and Mike is in the process of getting data from our various departments so that we can provide that to the League of Cities. When we get that information pulled together, I'll be sure to, Mike will share it with everyone, so that we have that information before legislative action days, because I think that information will be important for us to be able to talk to our legislators about. And last but not least, I just want to remind everyone that the Donna Marathon and Half Marathon are going to be held February 2nd through 4th. Just wanted to mention that since we won't have a council meeting before then. And the marathon and half marathon are Sunday, February 4th. I'm going to be doing the half. I understand that Mr. Jansen's wife is going to be doing the half as well. So anyone who wants to come out and cheer, that would be amazing. Or if you want to do it, it's for a great cause, breast cancer research, and it's like I said, it's a very important cause that affects a lot of people in our lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Golding. Any other announcements? Moving on to courtesy of the Florida visitors, we have a couple cards not related to council agenda items, and we'll start with Denise Donato. You can come up and you'll have 3 minutes to address the council, and start with your name and address.
Hi, thank you for letting me talk. My name is Denise Donato. I live in Jacks Beach at 1226 North 9th Street North. Sorry. And my question is regarding the replacing of the vacated seat by Corey Nichols. And I understand that what was said during the January 8th meeting, that you're going to be taking applications and choosing one. And by the current charter, that would only allow you to do it until the next general election, which is November. And you had made a statement during that meeting that you wanted to look at changing that charter, and best I can presume that you wanted to complete his term. But my thought is that that is for us to decide as voters, not for the council just to change the charter at will. So I just kind of would like your input as to why y'all are thinking that you need to change the charter for that.
We do not normally address questions, but I can address this one pretty easily. We cannot unilaterally change the charter. It would have to go to the voters even if we were going to do that. As we're going through, in between every 7 years of reviewing the charter, we're making notes as things come up, because sometimes things, 7 years from now, we may not remember that was potentially an issue. So not to say that we would change it, but it's something that we could consider looking at. Because to appoint someone in February and they have to turn around and file to run for office in June, that's a pretty quick turnaround. So.
And I get that, but we're the voters.
Yeah, and it will go to the voters because we cannot change the charter on our own.
Thank you.
Thank you. Robert Sherman?
Hi, Robert Sherman, 1103 15th Avenue North. I'm here to speak about the urban trails, but not with an emotional response. I'm here with scientific data. I've spoken to several of you, I recognize several of you, and I brought up the issue of radiative heat. So I realize the irony that on this cold day I'm going to talk about heat, and that tonight we'll get freezing. We wish for these cold days. Tonight we're going to get a little too much of a good thing. And by that thinking, the tourists come here for the heat. We're getting too much of a good thing. Year after year, we break temperature records, year after year, right? There was a study in 2022 by UNF and the EPA, which I believe is posted on News4JAX in a story from August 13th, 2022. And that actually shows a heat map of Jacksonville, the entire area, including the beaches. I can tell you before you look at it, but I invite you to look at it and back me up. The St. John's is nice and blue, and the entire beach is orange, yellow, or red, right? We do not have cool spaces. We have a radiative heat problem that is completely ignored. We're planning the future of our outdoor spaces and the use of those outdoor spaces. We are not addressing urban heat islands, radiative heat, the fact that it impacts not just your electric bill, but also health and, really the usability of these trails. Nobody's going to walk their dog on a trail that's going to burn his pads. We literally had news stories for the last 3 years. I'm a dog owner. It says, don't walk your dog between 11 a.m. and 6 p.m., right? So if we want to serve our pedestrians, we should be less concerned about whether or not they have enough room to jog by with a bike or whether or not they're going to get heat stroke. We should provide shaded spaces. We should be less worried about a pickleball court and whether or not that pickleball court is going to be usable in the daytime in the heat. We should provide shaded spaces. So, I understand, the whole thing about safety and crosswalks, great, terrific. Do we want to have, a walkable city? Fantastic. We don't have to do it at the expense of people's lawns. We could put down, and I know it's more expensive, but it's called pervasive high albedo pavement. It's more expensive. And let's talk about costs, because I know we get grants for having a walkable city. I promise you, there are a lot of grants available for mitigating heat islands. It's not just a problem for us. The EPA study, there's a December story in Newsweek from just last month, national level news story about heat islands and its effect on the economies, the health, and the energy usage of metropolitan areas and cities throughout our country. And we're just kind of moving on ahead and ignoring this, kind of like that whole thing. Hey, the only thing we have to worry about in global warming is beach erosion. Not true. I'm here to tell you, not true. So, unless you're planning on providing shade trees, which as a homeowner, I've been looking to buy an adult tree, very expensive. Or plant trees, well, they're not going to be usable for the next few years. And year after year, these trails are not going to be attractive to people from, June through late September, from 10 a.m. in the morning till 7 p.m. at night. It's just going to be too hot. And then what's going to happen after the sun goes down?
Mr. Sherman,
They're going to
your
radiate
time is
heat.
expired.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
But I invite you to look into this, because at night, those things are going to just give off heat and create this bubble that is described in these radiative heat islands. I appreciate that you guys are going back to look at this urban trails. I really think you need to factor the scientific information in. And when you see me next, I'll be talking about opportunistic crimes and the real research into that. Thank you.
Thank you. Bronwyn Fillion?
Thank you. You're one of the first persons who have pronounced it correctly on the first try. My name is Bronwyn Fillion. I live at 63 37th Avenue South, otherwise on the urban trail known as Jacksonville Drive, but we all know that it's 37th Avenue South. Thank you all very much for your responses and your willingness to hear our input. It's very much appreciated. And I'm a relatively new resident to Jax Beach. My husband and I retired from the Navy, both of us, and wanted to come back to the beach. And we were so involved in our own home and establishing, we didn't know about the urban trail until we got our door hanger. And we are very appreciative of that invitation to attend last month's meeting so that we could get schooled up and understand the mission, the vision, and the purpose for it. We are concerned about the intersection of 37th Avenue South and Ponte Vedra Boulevard. That intersection is difficult at best. And in the few years that we have lived here, we have noticed a tremendous increase in the amount of traffic at that intersection and how difficult it is for pedestrians or anybody else to cross that street.
It will back up on Ponte Vedra Boulevard, trying to make a left to get up to 3rd Street and leave the beaches area. My request is that the city and its planners study that intersection very carefully before pre-zooming and resuming planning for the urban trail. It is a very difficult intersection, and many of us are very worried about how it will potentially be very dangerous for the trail and for the people who want to be on the trail. Thank you again for the opportunity to work with you. Thank you, Mr. Horn, for being available and willing to listen to our concerns. It's greatly appreciated.
Thank you, Mrs. Billion. Kathy Hill?
Good evening, my name is Kathy Hill. I live at 3627 First Street South, at the intersection basically of 37th Avenue and First Street. My husband and I, my comments are on the urban trail. It's because we're right there on First Street with the public parking. So my husband grew up in our house, and we love our neighborhood and we love our city. I want to thank you all for your service and your desire to make the city better. Thank you for giving the trail additional thought about how it could affect the residents. Please continue to be deliberate and mindful as you proceed. Many residents are willing to help and provide suggestions to enhance the project while reducing the negative effects on their property and quality of life. To that end, the residents, especially those directly affected by the trail, can and should be force multipliers for the council and the consulting firm. Feedback, concerns, and suggestions already populate the Urban Trail Facebook page that has over 200 people. In addition, and perhaps some of you have already done this, we respectfully suggest that each district rep walk their district again, look at the proposed trail, and how it specifically look at the obstacles, properties, the utility, everything that's going to be affected by the trail. Maybe knock on some doors and ask for feedback and insight that only those residents have. Many of us would even be willing to go out and do this ourselves with or without our council representative. It means that much to all of us. It can be announced and advertised on the Facebook page. Thank you again for your service on this council, and we look forward to helping you make this city a better city. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Hill. Delina Auld?
Good evening, Delina Auld, 130 15th Avenue North. I got a lot to say, so I'll try and make it quick. So it seems like there's been a change of temperature as it pertains to the Urban Trails project. We went from a December meeting that was pretty much this is what we're going to do and you're going to like it, to a now, let's take another look at it and make sure the community gets excited about it. Thank you for recognizing that there are community concerns and putting a pause and sending it back to the design team to look at. That stated, there are still some open questions and concerns. We need answers to key questions that range from funding to surface coverage to drainage and flooding. You had us all submit questions in December, and I reviewed the answers and found that they're not really answers, they're just responses. Questions around items such as electric poles on the proposed trail and location of the trails were all met with the response, we will pass this on to the design consultants. Why on earth would we publish a detailed map of trails with complete measurements and then have nobody be able to answer any of the questions? The design trail comes right up to my neighbor's door according to what's published online, yet nobody can confirm that or deny it. We don't know what it's going to look like. The response we got was, we'll pass this back to the design consultants for review. Additionally, some of the responses to the questions actually generated additional questions. My favorite, and I almost skipped over it because I don't have pavers, was do we remove our pavers? The response was the city will remove them and then reinstall them from the street to the urban trail and then the urban trail to the property line. But it came with an additional response of, another concern I have is that, adjustments to the driveway slopes may have to be done to assure proper drainage. Well, what does that mean?
Is my driveway gonna have to be re-sloped? Is it gonna be ripped up? I don't know. There are a couple other gems in the responses, so I would suggest everybody take a moment to read through them all. Now, I'm not one to come up here and just complain and complain and complain without offering a solution. So I think we can fix this if you put together a consortium of residents that could be part of the Urban Trails Steering Committee. The volunteers in the committee can work with the design teams to make sure that the trail works for the community and for the individual neighborhoods, along with ensuring all of our questions and concerns are addressed. As it stands now, you can tell that there's been zero community involvement in the design. And if you really want to get people get people on board with it, then get them involved. I think you'll find that a lot of residents are not entirely opposed to this. It's just we want transparency and we want to have input. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Auld. Ken Marsh.
Ken Marsh, 2011 Gale Avenue. It's great to hear some of the citizens not just complain, talk about some solutions. As you know, I've been involved in the Urban Trail from day one, and you know I've supported the concept of the plan. But I've also been outspoken at the workshops and in front of council that the priority of this trail should be along First Street, as well as north-south route that'll tie into the future Penman Trail route. So this is where the density is located. This is where it's difficult for walking families, runners, cyclists, and cars to coexist safely, if at all. I was also part of the Jacks Beach Mission Workshop, where various residents mentioned the need of going from west to east to the beaches. But what has been greatly overlooked was how many citizens stated that from South Beach to Penman and all in between, they felt disconnected from one another. So although I understood your reasoning on the priority of east-west, I felt your decision was unsound and misguided. And now we are looking at reducing the size of the sidewalk footprint, perhaps tweaking the route. What began as a grand concept for the city is evolving into something that I can no longer support. In my opinion, a smaller asphalt footprint is simply a glorified sidewalk. Not an opinion, just simple fact that asphalt is the hardest surface for joggers and walkers. It just doesn't work. Your consultants have stated within the study that the width of the sidewalk is contingent for the density of use. So by making it smaller, you're just suggesting that there's not going to be the use there. That doesn't make sense. I think you guys are missing the boat, and I think that the real need here is to talk about making a loop around the city. So in front of you, my recommendation to council is to create a focus group where you'll have a list of names as suggested here tonight that include runners, cyclists, families, residents. That is, the group will be facilitated by the consultants and see what if this north-south route makes sense. And of course, you've got to consider the bookends at Jacks Drive and Seagate. And then see how the east-west neighborhoods can organically fit once the loop is created. I put that loop in front of you. It's approximately a 10-mile loop around the city. I'm not an urban trail expert, but I'm an avid runner. I put in 8,000 miles of biking a year. I've traveled across America. I've been around a lot of these trails. And what you guys are suggesting doesn't come close to that. So I urge you to rethink your strategy and the prioritization. And if you are just thinking north-south, as this young lady suggested, don't have the consultants do it. Bring the neighbors in, bring the experts, the subject matter experts like the runners, the cyclists, people with kids, bring them in. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Marsh. Michelle Madison.
Michelle Madison, 139 37th Avenue South. I was here at the community meeting that was held in December. I came to last month's meeting, and my husband attended the other meeting just recently. And there's things that I have questions, and I know you said you don't answer questions, but I'm going to put them out there so at least it's public. I'd like to explain the difference between easement and eminent domain. When it went from 10 feet to 7.5 feet, he's right. That's a glorified sidewalk. Have you all considered other areas where people have disabilities along this trail? Is this trail, the urban trail, connected to Groundwork USA? And if so, where's the grant money coming from? What nonprofits, what private donors, and who's involved, and who is getting possibly money back from this? Who's benefiting from this happening to our city? I don't think anybody at the beaches is against having something that makes it accessible for pedestrians and people to enjoy. But if it's going to create more of an environmental impact by tearing up people's driveways, trees, quality of life, it's not worth it. Do the urban trails cut through any of your front yards? And were there any city council members that had the plans changed so that it didn't cut in front of their yards? And if so, why? That's a really good, solid question. Why is the urban trail rerouted from the city council members' home? Is there any ties to Agenda 2030? This is on the UN site and the World Economic Forum, talking about the benefits of having 15-minute cities and changing our cities for environmental reasons. I think that's a question that needs to be answered, and if you don't know, please look into it to see if the monies that are backing this happening throughout the United States. This is happening in Atlanta, in Jacksonville, and all over. So I want to know, is this connected to the globalist movement in the country? And I really think that the owners, the residents, and people involved living here need to have a strong input in anything that's going forward with this, because it was a real slap in the face when we were told what you guys were going to do. So I'm glad you're reconsidering. I really appreciate it. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Matasu. Pete Matasu.
All right, Pete Matasu, 139 37th Avenue South. First of all, I want to thank you all for involving us. I appreciate the opportunity to both be at the meeting, and Jason did a really nice job in getting feedback to the questions. Some of them, as was mentioned, I think have some more questions that follow on. But I'll just say transparency. So I think we all had a theme that maybe this wasn't communicated well. Having been new residents, we weren't told. Our builder didn't know, and our builder's been building in the beaches area for 30 plus years, and he was completely unaware. So I think some continued transparency is very important. Appreciate that, and I appreciate the changes that are proposed. I'd like to get that in writing as a formal change, and also particularly in the 37th Avenue area. And then, as my wife mentioned, I saw in there that $500,000 per year is coming from the local budget, but it's a $14 million project, so there's quite a bit of gap made up. So where's that money coming from? Again, in the interest of transparency, I would like to know, because follow the money, because it never comes free, and there are always strings attached. And we as a community, I think, deserve to know what those strings are, if there are any. Okay, thank you. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Mr. Matasu. That is it for speaker cards not attached to an agenda item, so we will move on to the consent agenda.
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. The consent agenda is approved. We have two proclamations, and I'll start with Arbor Day. One of the things that we do each year, we've had a little bit of a theme already today, speaking about trees and how important they are in our community. Then we got handouts, so we're almost there. We have been a Tree City USA awardee for 34 years, and one of the things that allows us to continue to reach that goal is to do an annual proclamation, so I'm going to read through that. I don't think we have anyone here representing Arbor Day Foundation. So, whereas trees are recognized by millions as necessary element for the survival of mankind, and whereas trees are proven producers of oxygen, reduce the level of carbon dioxide in the air, dilute air pollutants, and reduce noise, and whereas trees play a pronounced and important role in the countywide soil conservation, soil enrichment, and erosion control, they enhance the value of property by providing valuable psychological and visual counterpoints to man-made changes during land development and urbanization, and whereas trees enhance the beauty of our parks, trails, and playgrounds, thus providing enjoyment to many people, and whereas people in every state are involved in the planting of trees, this indicates that people throughout our nation take pride in their lands. Now therefore, I, Christine H. Hoffman, Mayor of the City of Jacksonville Beach, do hereby proclaim Friday, February 2nd, 2024 as the first Friday of February as Arbor Day in Jacksonville Beach, and urge all citizens to participate in programs and activities to plant trees throughout the community. So please celebrate and recognize Arbor Day on that date. And the next resolution we have, you may have heard that one of our colleagues, Councilmember Corey Nichols, tendered his resignation as of December 31st, 2023, for a variety of reasons, which he explained in social media and press releases, or I guess media interviews. So we have a resolution of esteem, and it's not framed yet because I just signed it, but we will be getting it framed for you, Corey. So you can stay there. I'll read it from here so we don't have to do the awkward, standing around while I read. So bear with me because Corey has been serving this community in an appointed and elected capacity for quite some time. So he's accomplished a lot. Whereas Corey Nichols served as council member of District 1, Seat 4 from November 6, 2018 to December 30th, 2023, and as Mayor Pro Tem from November 16, 2020 to December 30th, 2023, and whereas Councilmember Nichols served on the Community Redevelopment Agency from June 17, 2023 to June 17, 2017. Did you do that on purpose? You started and ended on June 17th? Or is it just coincidence? Whereas Councilmember Nichols was a key leader who focused strongly on the concerns of the community and community outreach, and whereas Councilmember Nichols was instrumental in improving the quality of life for Jacksonville Beach residents by approving, funding, and participating in the planning of numerous initiatives, including the following: recruiting and selecting a new city manager and an in-house city attorney, developing and adopting the city's strategic plan and vision and mission statements, developing and adopting the city's code of ethics for public officials, participating in and completing a review of the city's entire charter and presenting proposed amendments to the charter to constituents, utilizing his professional expertise to save the city millions of dollars on stormwater projects during his time on the CRA, opposing short-term rental preemption at the state, facilitating the adoption of trees throughout the city of Jacksonville through the City of Jacksonville's Tree Commission, developing and adopting the city's paid parking program, developing and adopting the city's outdoor dining pilot program, amending the language and regulations of the Land Development Code pertaining to outdoor restaurant areas, the requirements to qualify for special restaurant alcoholic beverage license, and clarifying definitions pertaining to restaurants, approving the relocation of the Veterans Memorial to the Oceanfront Park, developing and adopting the city's honorary street name designation policy for military veterans and fallen wartime heroes, approving the redesign of Latham Park, Gonzalez Park, and Sunshine Playground, participating in the development of the Urban Trails Master Plan, navigating effectively through the COVID-19 pandemic. Now therefore be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Jacksonville Beach, Florida congratulates Corey Nichols for his exemplary service and authorizes this resolution of esteem. Thank you, Corey. Oh yeah. Just like that.
Thank you all, I really appreciate it.
Okay.
Carrot and stick, it's going to be a technical term for that.
Oh, there you go, carrot and stick, it is liquidated damages. Okay, the next item, now that Mr. Nichols has vacated his seat, he was also serving as the mayor pro tem. So we do need to appoint a new mayor pro tem to our council. We do, I think this is my 7th time going through a mayor pro tem appointment, and I don't think I've ever had an email from a citizen or a speaker card on this. So this is new, but we do have 2 speaker cards. I'm going to go ahead and allow those citizens to come up and speak, and then we will open the floor for nominations. Michelle Tipton. You know the drill.
Michelle Tipton, address on file. I emailed each of you earlier this week. I am strongly in support of Sandy Golding as the mayor pro tem. As the longest serving city council member, she already has and is filling many of the duties in that role. She has knowledge and experience to the needed work within the pro tem position, and I see her, I think this is probably one of the most important points, I see her as the person that would be most willing to put the extra time and effort to fulfill those duties. She, on a regular basis, monthly basis, puts together a monthly newsletter that puts an incredible amount of time and knowledge and information that goes out to the community. And me as a community member values that for not only, events happening, but to a lot of very valuable information. There's, VRBO issues. I think every meeting that I go to, Sandy frequently has multiple different things that she's been attending and researching. And, at state venues, paying attention to issues that impact each and every one of us, not only the city council. So I feel like she goes above and beyond putting the effort in, and I think she'd be an excellent person for that. She also would be able to make the crucial decisions to ensure the continuity of our city government. So for all of these reasons and more, I strongly support and encourage her to become the new mayor pro tem. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Tipton. John Tipton.
My name is John Tipton. I reside at 503 6th Street, North Jacksonville Beach, Florida. I haven't lived here my whole life, but in the 70 years that I have lived at the beach, I've seen a lot of members of the council, mayors come and go. I've had the pleasure of being acquainted with Sandy for a good number of years now. And I don't think there's anyone that I have met in that, maybe not 70 years. I guess I was only active up here for about 50 years. I don't think I've met anyone else who would have the grit and the drive, the determination, and the time to serve as mayor pro tem. I strongly suggest you select Sandy Golding. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tipton. We will open the floor for nominations. We had a couple lights come on early. Mr. Sutton.
Mr. Nichols, yeah, he's still here. I just want to say thank you again, Corey, for your 5 years on council and plus your additional years on the boards for the city of Jacksonville Beach. It's not a easy seat up here to be in, and I, for one, sincerely appreciate your dedication and service for sure to this great community. So thanks again very much. Having said that, and while Corey did an outstanding job, while he was in that role, I think we have a council full of individuals that are smart, involved individuals that are fully capable of filling the role of mayor pro tem. I think of particular esteem, service, and capability and involvement and qualification are 2 individuals that really stick out to me, and that's Councilman Jansen and Councilwoman Golding. Both of these individuals are involved in the community and or charitable organizations. The 2 things that stick out to me are Beaches Watch with Sandy and Project Cold Case with Mr. Jansen. Both serve on committees for the Florida League of Cities, and both are really well-versed and well-prepared in all things with our city and council. And I know both have been really great mentors and examples for me coming over here after 15-plus years on the Planning Commission. You know, they're both very involved, again, with Florida League of Cities and all things that are going on with our legislature. I honestly would be very comfortable with either of these individuals, you know, being Mayor Pro Tem. With that, I'm going to nominate Dan Jansen.
Any other nominations? Mr. Horn.
I'll nominate Sandy Golding. I don't have a speech, but.
A speech was not required. Any other nominations? Then floor is closed to nominations. Would anyone else like to speak on either of the candidates? I would like to echo, I think we have, and again, I've been on this council a long time. This is the most active and engaged council that I've ever been a part of. So I don't think there's a wrong choice here by any means. So let's go ahead and we'll do the roll call vote. And when your name is called, you can just state the name of the person that you are voting for. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Councilmember Golding? Golding.
Councilmember Horn,
Golding.
Councilmember Jansen,
Jansen.
Councilmember Meza,
Jansen.
Councilmember Sutton,
Jansen.
Mayor Hoffman.
I also meant to state that because we are short a person, we have 6 members on this council, and one of the things that this is the second time we have had 6 members on the council, and one of the things that I have been very keenly aware of is avoiding a tie, because we just don't have a good way to solve that. In this case, though, like I said, I don't think that we can make a wrong choice, so I'm going to vote for Councilmember Golding, and we do have a tie. And I have anticipated this eventuality, and we have brought a coin. So we are going to pick our Mayor Pro Tem. I checked the charter. I agonized and lost a lot of sleep when we were replacing Mr. Stokes' position, and I did not want to leave that to fate. But again, because we have an even split, and because I think you have 2 equally good candidates, Mr. Nichols. So the sides are red and blue.
Yep.
So I'm going to allow Ms. Golding to make the call. Red or blue? Okay, so if it's blue, it'll be Ms. Golding, and if it's red, it'll be Mr. Jansen.
So I'm going to flip it, and I'm going to put it on my hand, and then whatever my hand.
It's blue. Ms. Golding. And now that we have left this to fate, I don't mind saying that this is the first time in our Jackson Beach history that we have a female mayor and a female mayor pro tem. Ms. Golding, your lights on?
I just want to say, I feel like Rory Diamond here.
Mr. Meza.
This is something that could go on Beaches Museum.
Oh, there we go. Mr. Horn.
I did want to echo your comments in that both of these candidates are amazing, and we're lucky to have a situation where we have these many wonderful people. So, thank you both.
Mr. Sutton, everybody's lights coming on. Mr. Sutton?
Yep, just congratulations, Sandy. You got my full support. You'll do an awesome job, like you already do.
Mr. Jansen?
Yeah, I just want to echo the same. I think Sandy's going to do a fantastic job. We do work side by side, elbow to elbow in Florida League of Cities, and now we're involved with National League of Cities. And I think she does a fantastic job of keeping everybody up to speed as well. So I don't think the city lost in either occasion. So congratulations.
Ms. Golding?
Thank you very much. I appreciate your guys' support and look forward to the role. Thank you.
This Mayor Pro Tem position will be filled by Ms. Golding until the next council is seated after the 2024 election. So hopefully we'll have 7 at that point, and will not have to resort to a coin flip again. But congratulations, Ms. Golding, and I just expect you to continue at your level of involvement that you already are. But you'll be officially making our motion, so let's go ahead and start with item 1 under City Manager New Business.
I move that we appoint Thad Mosley as the first alternate member to the Community Redevelopment Agency to serve a 4-year term beginning in January 2024 and expiring December 31st, 2027.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, roll call.
Councilmember Horn,
Yes.
Councilmember Jansen,
Yes.
Councilmember Meza,
Yes.
Councilmember Sutton,
Yes.
Councilmember Golding,
Yes.
Mayor Hoffman.
Yes, motion carries. I think Mr. Mosley's here. Thank you, sir, for your service. You already got a promotion. Item 2 is to appoint a new second alternate to the Community Redevelopment Agency. Are there any nominations for the second alternate member? Mr. Jansen.
I nominate Ron Whittington.
Are there any other nominations? Ms. Golding.
I'd like to nominate David Smith.
Any other nominations? Okay, Madam Clerk, roll call, and when your name is called, you can state Whittington or Smith. Ms. Golding, you have your line?
Do we have an opportunity to provide any comments on our nominations?
We sure do. Would you like to make a comment on your nomination, Ms. Golding?
Yes, I would.
Go ahead.
I would just like to mention that Mr. Smith is a longtime resident of the Central Business District, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to nominate him. He's on the front line, so to speak. He has, I've spoken to him several times, and he has a very in-depth knowledge of the redevelopment plan that we have, and I think he has a sincere interest in what happens in the downtown area. We have a resident who lives in the South Beach District in Mr. Paytow, and so my thought was that it would be good to have a resident from the Central Business District or the downtown district as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jansen.
Yeah, and just to give you some background on Mr. Whittington, he was the media spokesman for JEA, but he has an extensive history of working on boards and committees and has been involved with both the City of Jacksonville and the City of Jacksonville Beach. Once again, I think the theme for tonight is you can't go wrong with individuals that are applying to work and volunteer with our city.
Thank you. Any other discussion from council? So when the clerk calls your name, you can say Whittington or Smith. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Councilmember Jansen,
Whittington.
Councilmember Meza,
Smith.
Councilmember Sutton,
Whittington.
Councilmember Golding,
Smith.
Councilmember Horn,
Whittington.
Mayor Hoffman.
Whittington. Ron Whittington will be appointed to the Community Redevelopment Agency for the second alternate and for the date stated. Moving on to the city attorney. This is another exciting one. I don't think we have, Ms. Bennett, do you have an update on this one? Or okay, so as you all know, we did an interview of 3 different candidates for city attorney. We selected one to bring in for a face-to-face, which he had a luncheon or a meeting with the department heads, a luncheon with all of us. We did a group interview, and then we were able to spend some time with him one-on-one. The council went into a meeting, and we all agreed to offer him the position and that I would manage the contract negotiations, which we were able to really quickly and successfully come to resolution on. There were a few minor changes detailed in the council memo, but I know that we are eager to bring him on board, and he is eager to put in his resignation at his current position so he can start working out his committed amount of time there. So let's go ahead and get a motion, and we can have any discussion you'd like to have.
I move that we appoint that we approve an employment agreement with Mr. David Miggett for the position of city attorney.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? Madam Clerk, roll call.
Councilmember Meza,
Yes.
Councilmember Sutton,
Yes.
Councilmember Golding,
Yes.
Councilmember Horn,
Yes.
Councilmember Jansen,
Yes.
Mayor Hoffman.
Yes, thank you, and I think he's probably watching this. Thank you, Mr. Meggett, for your interest, and we are looking forward to working with you. Next up, Mr. Brown, is this you?
This is me, the one and only. Good evening, Council. Philip Brown, Utility Superintendent, City of Jacksonville Beach. Tonight, my request, Council, is for approval of emergency replacement of two sewage lift station pumps at Lift Station 10 for the amount not to exceed $240,704. A little background on this. Lift Station 10 is located at 300 Palm Tree Road. And this is a triplex station, has 3 pumps in it. And it collects and pumps the sanitary sewer. During the last 2 weeks of the 2023, we started having problems with one of the pumps there. And then the following week, we had more problems with the pump. Well, as it turned out, we pulled both pumps from the lift station and we sent it out to be diagnostically tested. And we found out that it would be cheaper just to buy 2 new pumps for the lift station. Now, the 2 pumps that we pulled out were 2 of the original pumps from 20 years ago that got put in by yours truly, myself, back then when I was a lift station mechanic. And those are the 2 of the original, those are the 2 original pumps. The third pump was purchased in 2015 as an additional. We seen fit that we needed a third pump just in case something like this happened. And here we go, 20 years later, it actually happened that we have 2 pumps going down at the same time. So the estimate received was $109,411 for 1 pump, including installation and startup. And Public Works Service are requesting your approval for $218,822 for the repair of both pumps with a 10% contingency of $21,882 to cover the installation and startup for the project, which not to exceed, again, $240,704. And the financial impact of our reserves is adequate enough to cover for the pumps, and we will adjust it mid-year from account 64. So requesting your approval for 2 emergency replacement sanitation pumps for Lift Station 10 and the amount not to exceed $240,000, $704.
Thank you, Mr. Brown, and a motion?
I move that we approve emergency replacement of 2 sanitary sewer pumps at lift station number 10 for an amount not to exceed $240,704.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion, Mr. Mesa?
2 questions. First of all, what happened to your shoulder?
Rotator cuff.
Oh, that happened to me.
Rotator cuff.
You're good to go then, right?
Yeah, I'm good to go.
Good. Second question is, what's the life expectancy of these pumps?
Well, actually, 10 to 15 years. We had a rework before, prior to this. And so this is the second time that we redoing the pumps again. And it's the same 2 pumps again, pump 1 and 2 that we took out. So actually about 15 years. We stretched it an extra 5 years with that. And so we purchased again, the third pump was purchased in 2015. So we looking to pull that, have it checked to make sure that it's working properly and the seals. And right now we're running on 1 pump and a bypass pump at the station.
Any other questions? I just have to comment that I love that Beach's Grain Market has made it to Google Maps. I think that's awesome. Unrelated to this issue. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Councilmember Sutton,
Yes.
Councilmember Golding,
Yes.
Councilmember Horn,
Yes.
Councilmember Jansen, Mayor Hoffman.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Brown.
Thank you.
Mr. Sutton, that was not the hard vote for today. So. No, that was a struggle. Okay, moving on to ordinances. This is a second reading, right? Yes. Do we have any updates? Any staff report? Okay. Madam Clerk, please read the ordinance by title.
An ordinance of the City of Jacksonville Beach, Florida, amending City Code of Ordinances, Chapter 28, Streets, Sidewalks, and Other Public Places, Section 28-12M, Expiration, providing for repeal of conflicting ordinances, severability, scrivener's errors, codification, and an effective date.
This ordinance is before the council for a public hearing and consideration on its second reading. I will now open the public hearing on ordinance number 2023-8208. I do not have any speaker cards on this issue. Would anyone from the public like to speak for or against this issue? Seeing none, the public hearing is closed. Can I have a motion?
I move that we adopt ordinance number 2023-8208 on the second reading, amending City Code of Ordinances, Chapter 28, Streets, Sidewalks, and Other Public Places, Section 28-12M, Expiration.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion or questions by council? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, roll call.
Councilmember Golding,
Yes.
Councilmember Horn,
Yes.
Councilmember Jansen,
Yes.
Councilmember Meza,
Yes.
Councilmember Sutton,
Yes.
Mayor Hoffman.
Yes, motion carries. For those of you who might have come in a little later, we did remove ordinance B from the agenda for this evening. We'll be revisiting that at a later time. Ms. Golding?
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any, oh, wait. If we're gonna do a voice vote, all in favor? Any opposed? This meeting is adjourned, except for Mr. Sutton and Mr. Horn, who can stay.